We are recording.
Okay. Are we, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to call the meeting in the order of the Oregon Racing Commission. Karen, could you come up and please do the roll call when you get there?
For the record, my name is Karen Parkman, and I'm the program coordinator for the agency. I'll be conducting roll call. Chair Doherty.
To the mic. A little closer to the mic.
Start with who you call. Chair Doherty.
Here.
Vice Chair Berry. Present. Commissioner Fowler. Here. Commissioner Beckstead.
Present.
So one of the things that we've decided to do is read our mission statement at the beginning of each meeting and our legislative findings. Our mission, the Oregon Racing Commission, is dedicated to promoting the highest standards of safety and integrity within the equine racing industry, both on ground and online. Our mission is to safeguard the welfare of athletes, both human and equine, with a steadfast commitment to the best interests of our citizenry, licensees, participants, and the economy. The legislative findings state this is 462.304, states that the Legislative Assembly finds and declares that the horse racing industry is economically vital to this state, and that the overall welfare of its residents will be enhanced through the development of horse racing and associated projects and facilities within the state.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Okay, the first thing we have some approvals. The meeting agenda. Are there any additions or subtractions to the meeting agenda?
Yes, Chair Doherty, there is one correction. When I did my director's report last time around, I said that there was no jockeys or horses that were injured at Tillamook. We did have a jockey that had a foot injury.
Okay, is that for the minutes or for?
That's for the minutes.
Okay, we're
Oh, I'm sorry. So,
any changes in the meeting
yes,
agenda?
I have a change for that too.
Okay, thank you. We'll do that, then we'll do the minutes.
For the agenda item, we no longer need an executive session, so that can be scratched.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and I need a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second? Okay, it's approved by Commissioner Fowler, seconded by Commissioner Berry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next are the August minutes. Are there any changes or additions to the August minutes?
The one I said before.
Yes. Okay, so that has been changed in the minutes.
It will be corrected to the permanent record.
Okay, thank you. Again, we need a motion to accept the minutes for the August meeting with correction.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Beckstead seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next thing we have is old business, director's report. Director Wynn.
Good afternoon, Chair Doherty and esteemed commissioners. I'm the Executive Director of the Oregon Racing Commission, as you all know. I'm pleased to share that we are in the process of securing a new licensing database system, as we've discussed before, and we have selected a steering committee to make sure that we're doing the best possible process of implementing that so that it's effective for everyone. We have 3 people who have been nominated from the industry to help with that. Trin Magdalenas, who is a licensee and racehorse owner. Marissa Richard, who is a licensee and the chief marketing officer at one of our licensees, AmWest Entertainment. And Richard Stipe, the director of operations for the Oregon OTB network. So far, their feedback has been instrumental, and their suggestions are going a long way to making sure that we have really considered the end users in the implementation and the functionality of that database for licensing. Thank you very much for those individuals and everyone else that is contributing to that project. We have a few upcoming changes in personnel, both on the commission and within our staff, that I would like to notify everyone of. First, Dr. Everman has submitted his retirement paperwork effective at the end of this season. Dr. Everman has been instrumental in so many ways in the past 5 years, and he has contributed a great deal through regulatory work, policy changes, and his excellent mentoring of staff, as well as his expertise in veterinary work. We are actively recruiting for his replacement. Finding someone with his level of experience and expertise will be a significant challenge. I want to extend my congratulations to Commissioner Beckstad, who has accepted a new position in Colorado as the Chief Equine Program Director for the Wildlife Animal Sanctuary. He will remain with us in Oregon through December before departure. We all wish him the best in his future endeavors.
Thank you.
In other news, a commissioner has been nominated by the governor's office and will be considered for confirmation by the legislators next week. I'm happy to report he comes with many years of experience in harness racing and is an equine veterinarian. The commercial race meet is currently underway. While the handle has been light, the races have been processing smoothly. Unfortunately, we did experience an incident involving a horse that suffered a catastrophic incident. Thankfully, the jockey was unharmed. The horse is currently at OSU for a full necropsy, and hair sample has been sent to our laboratory. We have 4 weeks of racing remaining this season. For more on that horse, we have gotten a preliminary back. There was a pulmonary issue. The necropsy is not completely done. We're still waiting for some other reports on it. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Director Wynn? Okay, thank you very much, and I know we'll have another meeting before you leave, but you'll be missed.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
It's been an honor serving, and I like the direction that the commission is headed.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your help. Thank you. Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda is the Medication and Safety Committee report, Commissioner Berry, and under all business issues.
Okay. For the Medication and Safety Committee meeting this morning, we had a good conversation. First item we looked at was the crop rule. At this time, we have no recommendations changing anything in the crop rule. And the discussion was basically about balancing safety and public perception and humane treatment of the animals, and making sure that we're taking care of all those things. For the impact of black market racing on animal welfare, there's a suggestion about doing hair testing as a potential way of catching folks who are using illicit substances while match racing and then coming to race at our races. Also, the frequency of races being available was discussed. And I guess there's some evidence that more races do correlate with safer racing. So that's, I think, a good reason to be looking at having more race dates. We're going to postpone further discussion on 48-hour NSAIDs pending our new commissioner we just spoke about. We discussed suicide prevention. Micah has a couple of homework assignment on that. He's going to be disseminating some best practice stuff to ADWs, and Leah is going to be posting the suicide prevention hotline, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline on our website. And also there's a gambling prevention website through the state. I'll get you a link to that.
Already there.
Already there?
Micah's got it.
Where? Oh. It is under, I do know that, I've seen it there.
Yeah.
So, I bet it is there. Anyway, they have homework assignments, and they'll be doing a great job with it, I'm sure. That was the bulk of what we discussed today at the Med and Safety meeting. We should touch on.
Okay, I was going to say, are there any questions for the commission on the safety committee meeting?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. And I'm sorry I missed the Medication and Safety Committee meeting. I am the one that raised the issue of the use of crops. This is informed by my overall perspective that all equine enterprises need to move to an ethic and a culture that discourages the use of fear, pain, and coercion to improve equine performance. And I know that, compared to other jurisdictions, our crop rule, I think, is certainly better than many others. New Jersey has completely abandoned the use of the crop. While I do think that it is an animal welfare issue because it is using pain, fear, and coercion to enhance performance, I also think that there is a very real public perception problem associated with the crop when the public sees a jockey, whipping a horse, especially in the home stretch. That tends to create a very negative public perception. So, I would, especially since I feel like Oregon has, through this body, expressed a strong desire to be seen as a leader in the welfare of horses that are racing in our state. I think that, we should, as a body and as a state, stake out a leadership position on these types of issues, and I think that the crop rule should be included in that. So again, I think that our crop rule is better than many others, but I would hope that there would be consensus to at least start examining the possibility of abandoning the crop altogether. I will also say that I spoke with a member of the HISA board. She is the advisor on track safety, and both she and the head of the jockey club both confirmed that they believe that this is the direction that the industry is headed, that ultimately they believe that the use of the crop will eventually be discontinued. Whether that happens sooner rather than later is yet to be seen. But again, I think since Oregon has professed a desire to be seen as a leader on animal welfare in racing, it certainly seems like something worthy of discussion.
Okay, thank you. Director Nguyen.
I appreciate your comments very much. I know that you're very passionate about that, Commissioner. I do want to mention one thing that I think, I might be wrong, but I believe that New Jersey does allow crops for safety. So I just wanted to correct that. Thank you.
If I could add, yes, if I could add something to that as well. I just think, I think that banning it completely takes away from the fact that there are uses of crops that aren't for the purpose of fear, pain, or coercion. I can think of an incident or a situation with my young horse, teaching him what pressure meant, and a touch of a crop on a shoulder is an aid to communicate with no intent of fear, pain, and coercion. And I think that to say that those are the only uses of crops would be a misstatement.
Can I just one follow-up? And I appreciate both. And yes, the New Jersey rule only allows for the crop for issues of safety. I don't think anyone is saying that there aren't appropriate uses for crops in training, for exactly what you described, Commissioner Fowler. But I think what the scenario that I am envisioning that I think causes a lot of public perception problems is, where the jockey is just incessantly whipping the horse the length of especially the home stretch. to try and increase the chances of the horse winning. But I also understand that our rule would not allow that here in Oregon. So to me, it's an important conversation to have, and I think it's something that maybe we can continue talking about here in Oregon.
Thank you. And the last thing under old business, discussion on changes to the medication and safety charter.
Thank you. And this is referring back to our previous conversation about essentially wrapping the Med and Safety Committee into the larger commission's discussion. First, does anybody have any strong feelings or opinions on that? Okay. My feeling as the chair of the Med and Safety Committee is that it's a good place to have an extended conversation about things that we might not want to take an entire commission meeting discussing. We can then come back with more information. We can go gather more information to make recommendations. At this time, I don't think that dissolving the committee is a good idea. Certainly at any point, the commission thought that was something that happen could, but in the interest of saving commission time, I think it's nice to have a venue where these conversations can be had in a longer form and everyone can feel fully heard.
And I think on something like that, when you have a specialty, then there's more of a focus on it. There's the committee focuses on it, and they come out with some, I think, pretty good outcomes.
And I would like to remind all the commissioners again that all commissioners are welcome to attend as participants. There is no rule against that. There was confusion about that in previous years, but we have confirmed as long as a commission-wide vote is not taking place, which it can only be done if it's noticed in advance, all the commissioners can participate in it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think keeping this committee is informational. It's for gathering information, for testing the waters, for finding out what the public and all the stakeholders are at. So I guess I would be in favor of keeping it in place as long as it serves a function for the commission. And if at any point it becomes extraneous or we don't need it anymore, we can move away from it.
Do we need any action on this? Or I didn't think so. Okay, thank you very much. And those discussions will continue when more and more information comes up. And I think the goal of this is to make sure that we cover as much as we can when it comes to medication and safety and changes in the industry. Okay, next we've got new business. Jockeys Guild update. Daryl Hare, is he here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. You want to come forward and speak closely to the microphone so everyone can hear you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Daryl here, Western Regional Manager of the Jockeys Guild. It's a pleasure to be here in Grants Pass. I've been here, I've been in this position as the Western Regional Manager for 25 years. And it's always great to see people, the hardworking people of Oregon, striving to keep this industry alive. And it's just, it's a pleasure. It was interesting to be in a meeting this morning and meet the commissioners and talk about issues that are at hand. And it's just an honor to be here. Thank you.
Great, because as I say, athletic safety is our #1 concern, whether they be equine or human.
I feel it. We have the same goals, and just given a positive perception of this game. I know we're working toward it with the rules that are in place, getting to the crop rule. I believe things are going in the right direction. People love this game. In the last few years, it's taken a big hit. But like any other, some sports that have had negative, as far as the public goes, we're turning it around. We have to. And with everybody working so hard as we are, rules are changing for the better, whether it's medication or with the crop rule, it's working. and people are coming to the races again and enjoying it. It's a good feeling again. So, but as far as a report, everything's going relatively smooth here with the jockeys. It's just, I'm glad that racing is alive, and it's going to stay alive in Oregon, God's willing.
Are there any questions, Mr. Harrell?
I have a question. I don't have a question, actually, I changed it. I have a statement to make. I want to thank you very much, Daryl, for coming in. You were instrumental in our meeting this morning and helped us out considerably. We also had the opportunity to have lunch with him and some of my staff, and he provided some great input. One of the things that we've really been working on as a commission staff is trying to engage the jockeys more, and I appreciate your partnership in trying to help us with that. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining our commission meeting
Thank
in
you.
person.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda is the Southern Oregon Horse Racing Association, SORA. Commissioner Fowler?
That's me.
Yes.
I had a wonderful time attending the races on July 4th. I really enjoyed meeting all of the players, from the vet and the staff doing the vet checks in the morning, to the stewards, to the photographer up in the booth, to the trainers, to the jockeys. I feel like I met everybody that was involved, to the betting, and learned really how every step of the day goes, and that was very educational for me and very enjoyable. I want to thank everybody who took the time to teach me and tour me around. I very much enjoyed the tour of the facility. I think that statue of the horse has got to stay no matter what happens to that building. It was really, and I'm not just saying this, it was one of the highlights of my summer. I absolutely enjoyed it. Watching a race from the track just behind the starting gate is one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life. Actually standing in that starting gate, putting my hands on each side and really feeling how wide it is. It just gave me a lot of information that I wouldn't have had if I didn't go. And so thanks for everyone who took the time.
Okay. You're up in just a couple of seconds.
No problem.
And I'm going to be reporting on the Tillamook race, and it's the same thing. The second time I've gone to the Tillamook races, and I've always been impressed with the cleanliness of the facility. Always been impressed with the staff, not only the staff on the ground, but also the ones up there in the booth. You know, the stewards and the photographers and all of these people that literally have that race down to a split second and know exactly what's going on. Very, very professional. And I appreciated that. And the people in Tillamook were having a good time. Having a good time. And we'll hear more about the race in just a couple of minutes. Okay.
Chair Doherty,
Yes.
can I just, I also attended a day of the races down here, and I want to also extend my thanks to Director Wynn. We had a great time. Rod, you gave me a tour of the facility. I saw just exactly what Commissioner Fowler describes, and my eyes were really open to just how many moving pieces there are to pull these races off. So I too learned a great deal and was very grateful for that opportunity.
Okay. The next on the agenda, we actually have the Eastern Oregon livestock. If they want to switch with Southern Oregon, is Mr. Jacobs here?
He's online.
Okay. Would you like Mr. Lowe to go first and then go you, or would you like to go first, sir? And give us a little update on the Eastern Oregon Livestock Association.
Yeah, I did. This is Nathan Jacob, racing director in Union, Oregon. Chair Doherty and Executive Director Wynn and staff, Oregon Racing Commission staff. Thank you for all the support you've given us. Our meet was held June 7, 8, and 9 of 24. Eastern Oregon Livestock Show was licensed to run 18 races, and this is the first year for a while that we filled the races that we put in for all 18 races ran this year. We had 9 thoroughbred races in 24 and with 40 horses running. And we had 9 quarter horse races with 53 horses running. And for the first time, we did not have a mixed breed race in 24. Therefore, we had 93 horses running. 101 horses were entered on the card to go, with 8 horses scratched during our 3-day meet. Our meet handle was 43,721. That's down $270 from 23. And we had one more race in 24. Our public is limited. We still have, they seem to be anxious to get out and enjoy event and willing to bet. We seem to stay in them low to mid $43,000 for a handle, regardless of how many races we run. We had fairly good weather in Union this spring, able to work the track and have it ready in good shape. Our agricultural crew had the track in very good condition, and we didn't have any incidents in relation to the track condition. Was really pleased with the increase in the number of entries compared to 23. Quarter horses filled 9 races for our condition book entries, and the same number as it was in 23. And the thoroughbreds filled 9 races, 2 more than condition book for 23. EOLS has been very pleased with video services and photo finishes of Aaron Jensen's Moonlight Racing, and Jerry Coles as the racing secretary, very satisfied with his efforts. Did everything he could to fill our 18 races this year. And Josie always does a fine form, and both Jerry and Josie are always willing to give Union, and I'm assuming anywhere else they go, a helping hand and make it as good as possible. At Eastern Oregon Livestock Show, we had 12 jockey riders this year, down 1 from the 13 that rode in 23. We did have 1 jockey injury. Luckily, it was minor. Jesus Munoz Estrada was either thrown or bailed off his horse in the second race on Saturday, and was transported to the hospital, released with just a sprained foot, as far as that I could find out. No major incidents really. Estrada did not ride again on the Saturday and Sunday meet races. In 24, we had average field in thoroughbred races of 4.44. Average field in the quarter horses was 5.89, and no mixed breed race. Our average purses on Friday was $5,342. On Saturday, $5,767. I'm sorry, $5,342 on Friday, $5,758 on Saturday, and $5,767 on Sunday. Total average purse for the 18 races, $5,622. We did a little bit of repairs and maintenance to our jockey building prior to our meet, painting and cleaning up mainly. We're hoping to remodel the inside of the jockey shack. We have about a 10 by 10 parcel of the jockey building that's not being used and hasn't been for several years. So we're going to try to open it up and make it a little more convenient for the jockeys to use during their stay. Union would like to thank everyone involved with the racing for the summer track meets. Their Oregon Racing Commission staff are always so willing to give us a helping hand and guide us to get the job done. Thank you, Connie, for your support and keeping us informed. And a shout out and a thanks to Doug Smith for taking care of all the duties he does for our summer meets, and especially the jockey insurance negotiations. Thanks to the OHBPA and Oregon Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association and the Quarter Horse Association and their staff for the support and getting horses to our meet. Just to close, I think one of the best things that our summer fair meets are doing is the monthly meetings and having the Zoom or the new system, I guess now, to keep us informed and have us ready for our race meet and timing. So that's the report from Union. Is there any questions I could answer?
Okay, thank you. Not only appreciate the report, we also have a written report, but I also appreciate the EOLS supporting so many FFA and 4-H kids, because I think it's a program that's very, very beneficial to a lot of the kids, and I know that they appreciate the help that you're doing. Any questions? Okay. Mr. Lowe, Southern Oregon.
Rod Lowe, Southern Oregon Horse Racing Association, I'm the president. I first want to start by thanking all of the SORA members and staff for always doing such a great job. SORA members work year-round to help put on 2 quality race meets at Grants Pass. The summer meet is one of them. All of our members are hardworking and really care about the success of racing at Grants Pass Downs. I also want to thank all of our stakeholders and the ORC. Without all of us working together, we wouldn't have successful race meet at Grants Pass. SORA opened the racetrack up for training on the 1st of May and had a live race meet on June 15th, 16th, 22nd, 23rd, 29th, 30th, and July the 4th. Total training days that SORA put on at Grants Pass was 56 days of training. All of that allows for the horses not only at Grants Pass to be fit and ready to run, but also all of the fair meets. SORA had a very successful race meet. Some of the stats from 24 to 23 I want to share with you. Field sizes in 24 were 59. There was 59 races, 6.31 horses per race, 372 starts, 26 races with 7 or more horses, 33 races with 6 or fewer horses. In 23, we had 55 races, 5.78 horses per race, 318 starts, 11 races with 7 or more, 44 races with 6 or fewer. So we increased that field size substantially from 23 to 24. We also did that with purses. Well, purses were, in 24 were up. They were $479,672 in purses. Average per day was $68,525. Average per day was $8,130 per day. Total in 23 was $466,983. Average per day was $66,712. Average per race was $8,491. So as far as total purses, we're up 3%. Average daily was up $1,813. Average per race was down $361. Total handle for 24 with 59 races was $313,760. which was $44,823 per day. Average per race was $5,318. Compared to 23, that was $84,361. Average per day was $40,623. Average per race was $5,170. So in comparison, for the total handle was up 10% or $29,399. Average per day was up $4,200. Average per race was up $148. Attendance, we also increased in attendance this year. Daryl Hare was talking about people are coming back to the races again, and we saw that this year. Total attendance was 21,105. Average per day was 3,015 people. In 23, it was 19,225. Average per day, 2,746. So the attendance was up by 10%, or 1,880 people. Average per day was up 269. So overall, we had a very successful race meet, and we're very proud of what Grants Pass is doing and our facility and supporting the horsemen and having racing here. We're pleased to report that we didn't have any jockey injuries. However, we did have a horse that got injured in a race, was taken back to its stall, and unfortunately the owner decided to euthanize the horse. SOAR is looking forward to our 2025 race meet and all other future race meets at Grants Pass Downs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you. The next on our agenda is Crooked River Roundup meet. Mr. Smith?
Well, it's a pleasure to be in front of the commission and to report on our 2024 race meet. First off, I'd like to thank the Racing Commission staff for being extremely easy to work with and to solve problems together. The second thing is in Prineville, we run basically a volunteer race meet, and it involves over 200 volunteers over the course of the 4 nights to get us finished. And then the other thing I'd like to note is there's over 50 sponsors for our race meet. And without that, this report wouldn't be near as nice as it's going to actually sound. The other summer fair meets, and I just want to point this out to the commission, that all of the race meets rely on each other. And Rod touched on the fact that Grants Pass is open to prep horses. We used to have Sundowns up in Kennewick that was open early and would allow the horses to be in shape for the Oregon Fair meets. They're no longer in existence. And so without those training days down in Grants Pass, we wouldn't have horses ready to run in Union, then come back down to Grants Pass and over to Prineville. So, and then eventually Tillamook. So it is, all of our race meets are tied together. We depend on each other. We use the same vendors. We use the same tote system. We use the same video and photo finish people. We work together. And I think that is something that Oregon has to be extremely proud of, is the fact that we have all of our race meets working together. So the 2024 race meet in Prineville was very pleased to host Commissioner Berry for a couple of nights. We really enjoyed having him, and we enjoyed showing him around. We ran on July 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. We had very good attendance and large handles on all 4 nights. The crowd was enthusiastic. They had a great time. We did have a little impact of weather. When you run 1 week, you are totally reliant on whatever the weather is that week. And we had temperatures during the afternoons that were up to 103 degrees. Last year, our temperatures were 87, which is much more pleasant for spectators. We do run in the evening, so when I talk about high temperatures, don't get too concerned because by 8 or 9 o'clock, it starts cooling off considerably in the high desert, and we get 30 and 40-degree temperature swings. So when we talk about 100 degrees at 6 o'clock, by the time we start running, it may be down into the mid 90s. And by the time the third race is ran and the sun has gone below the rim rocks, it can be 75 and 80 degrees, and you may need a coat by the time the night's over. So, but it did affect our attendance, we do believe. And it probably had a small effect on our handle because we were down slightly on handle this year compared to last year. But not anything considerable. We ran 36 races with a handle for 4 nights of $285,362, which is down 11,000 from 2023. Our average was $71,341 per day, and an average of $7,792 per race. We ran 218 starters. 21 horses were scratched over the 4 days. So that's an average of 6.06 horses per race, which was an improvement from 2023. We contested 15 quarter horse races, 20 thoroughbred races, and 1 mixed breed race. Quarter horses averaged a little over 6.5 horses per race, and the thoroughbreds averaged about 5 3/4. Our purses in Prineville bottomed at $6,500. Over the 4 days and 36 races, the total purses in 2024 were $280,525, which compares to $256,000 in 2023. So we were up $24,000 in purses. And our average purse was $7,927 per race. If you go back and look at the funds we received from the state is $4,000, and the Horsemen's Group add $1,000 to that, and then the Crooked River Roundup adds a minimum of $1,500 per race. So you can see we not only have emphasized increasing our purses and trying to make racing profitable for horsemen, but we are succeeding at it. Our attendance was estimated to be 23,000 for the 4 days. We actually had a very strong Wednesday. We're down a bit on Thursday and Friday, but again, very, very strong on Saturday. We've had discussion on the cause of the decrease in attendance and are torn between it being economic conditions or weather. So I think we're just going to blame it on both. One of the neat things is to see our racing facilities improve. In 2024, we were able to use a brand new jockeys facility, and it is got a commons area that is very large, and then restrooms and showers that are basically immaculate. And it was, because it's climate controlled, it was very welcomed by the riders to have a place where they could go cool down between races. It was incredible to see how well the riders took care of that facility. It was never cluttered. It was never dirty. It was, they kept their belongings in their little corner. And I think they were as proud of it as we were. One of the other things we added this year was a video camera showing the horses being saddled in the paddock, and then worked with our video board people in order to display that on the big video board out in front of the grandstand. So you had basically a camera view of the video board available to all of the patrons that were interested in watching it. We were really proud of our track this year. We spent more time prepping the track than we ever have. It was bladed, it was smoothed out. We had, I really believe, a better track to start the week with than what we normally finish with. And that's because of the number of works and the amount of effort that was put into trying to keep it wet in 103-degree temperatures, as well as having the right equipment to keep that track prepared. Very, very pleased, and I can guarantee you that our volunteers and board members took a lot of pride in it. Last year, we invested $48,000 into a new 20 horse barn. It wasn't ready, wasn't completed in time for our 2023 meet, so that was also rolled out and used for the first time in 2024. When we look at our purse structure, the Oregon Racing Commission supported our meet with $4,000 per race for an initial amount of $144,000 for 36 races. We also qualify for $2,000 per day in matched fund support. So we had $152,000 that was supported by the Oregon Racing Commission. That, remember, we gave a total purse of $285,000, so $285,000. So you can see we were well above that. We also want to thank the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association for supporting our meet with additional $1,000 for overnight races and additional support for the bonus challenge we run, the Futurity, and the Sosa Stakes. The Oregon HPBA supported our meet with $1,000 for overnight races and added money to a couple of feature races on Saturday night that helped us get what we were trying to do, was to draw more horses from out of state, and we accomplished that. The Oregon Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association provided an incentive for Oregon bred exclusive races, and we ran one stakes race. We're also supported by the American Quarter Horse Association in the bonus challenge in the amount of $7,500. Crooked River Roundup, Horsemen, and local sponsors provided $77,675 in purse support, or an average of $2,157 per race. That's an increase of $600 per race in comparison to 2023, when that number was $1,497. We continue to use FastBet Mobile, which is a secure internet application that allows patrons on the race course to wager on the FastBet Mobile website from their smartphone. Growth is slow, and I promise that if you put it in, you're going to have a learning curve and it will be slow. But we use the Miles City, Montana bucking horse sale as kind of a guide, and they are up to 25% of their handle now being wagered on FastBet Mobile. And what the reason for that is that what slows down the races in Prineville is trying to get our patrons, who are small wagers, many $2 and $3 wagers going through our windows, and we get long lines and people can't bet. If we can convert some of those to FastBet Mobile, we don't have to go from 40 windows to 60. We can maybe go from 40 windows down to 30. So that's our goal, is trying to figure out how to grow without growing infrastructure. On Friday evening, we had a horse suffer a catastrophic injury that resulted in the horse being put down. It was our first involvement of transporting the horse to OSU for a necropsy. We got it figured out. The rider was also injured and transported to St. Charles Hospital here in Prineville. I've talked to him several times and actually worked with Daryl down at the Jockeys Guild to try to find him some help. And he is recovering, not quite as fast as I think he wished, and as fast as we wished he would. Looking forward to 2025, we continue to look for a rock picker for our tracks, and our rocks aren't terrible, but anything we can do to improve the surface of our racetrack is something we're going to be fighting for. And so we will continue to work on that goal in 2025. With the new jocks room complete, we are working with Horseman's Group to find out what kind of a paddock, what kind of a paddock layout and covering we should use for them. We hope to have that completed in 2025. I'll close by saying we're averaging 22,000, where is 5,500 people per day in our grandstands. And frankly, I think Commissioner Berry, who was here, can agree with me that we aren't going to get many more people in those grandstands on those big nights. And so we're looking at ways to improve our event without more places to view the races by using video boards and TVs, so that not everybody has to be in front of the grandstand or be in the grandstand to watch it. And so we're growing our what you would call a midway area behind the grandstands we've actually doubled the space in there in the last 3 years with the intent of trying to find ways to grow our event, because economically building a new grandstand probably isn't in the cards right now. So we're excited. Horse racing is alive and well in Prineville, Oregon, as it is in many of these other locations. And again, thank you to everyone who's made that possible. And that list includes most of the other all of the other tracks and all of the commission staff, and also the commission for your support. Thank you. Any questions? I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions, any comments? Okay, very good report. Sounds like you had a good year. We appreciate that. The last one we have to report on this is Tillamook County Fair race meet report. Do we have either Tammy or Steve here? Or online?
I don't see Cammie on the call.
Okay, if not, we did have a written report from them, and it is included at least in the commission packets. I don't know if it's out there, but Tillamook had a pretty good season and a pretty good year, and we do have the report. We appreciate it very much. Okay, the next thing we have is the evaluation of the ORC Commission, and it's facilitated by Samantha Powell. I think Samantha, yeah, there she is up there. And so, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Samantha Powell. I am one of the HR Deputy Directors at DCBS, which stands for Department of Consumer and Business Services. We provide HR services to the Racing Commission, and I will be facilitating this performance evaluation for the commission. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
It's a little blurry, but
yeah, if you can make it larger, please.
yeah. But it could also.
Is that big enough, or you want me to go bigger?
I think that's as clear as we're gonna get.
It looks good.
Okay. So I believe this screen matches up with the question. So we're just going to go through each criteria. Again, when we look at your performance or the performance that you're looking at, you don't have to always be, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. You can say no, it's not going to affect anything against you. So we'll just try to answer as best as we can, and then we'll go through it. So the first section that we're going to look at is the executive director performance. And we have two questions here. Executive director's performance meets or exceeds expectation. And I believe when we're talking about executive director, that is Connie. So the commissioners of the ORC will establish clear performance expectations for the director. This will include overall performance within the job description, as well as any specific expectations from ORC policy, agendas, and other meeting specific directives. So for this first question, would you say that is a yes or a no?
We're asking the commissioners here. I thought we had already filled this out.
We did.
Just to clarify, we're now evaluating you, the commissioners. Part of your evaluation is, did you evaluate me?
Oh, yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, second question. Has this has been related to executive director's performance has been evaluated in the last year. Did the commissioners of the ORC perform a formal evaluation annually and provide informal feedback to the director throughout the year?
Yes. Yes, we did. Okay. Let's go around to the commissioners and just read it. Please let me know.
Okay. So next we're going to go into strategic management. And again, this is the evaluation of the commissioners. So the agency's mission and high-level goals are current and applicable. So we're looking, this is the description. The commissioners of the ORC actively participate in the development of agency goals and review of the biannual report.
Yes.
And is everyone in agreement to that?
Yes.
Next question. The commission reviews the annual performance progress report as submitted to the legislature. And this is the statutory responsibility Oregon Accounting Manual 20.10.00 and the DLCD policy 03-01. The commissioners of the ORC annually review the 4 key performance measures: animal safety, license turnaround time, excellent customer service, and best practices.
Yes.
Okay. Next section is strategic policy development. The commission is appropriately involved in review of agency's key communication. The ORC is involved in public process and with key media communications. The executive director coordinates with the governor's office and other appropriate entities and communicates with the ORC chairperson on key communications. When appropriate, communications are shared with all commissioners.
Yes, and that is always something that's ongoing. Also.
Okay. The commission is appropriately involved in policy-making activities. Statutory rule responsibility, ORS Chapter 197, OAR 660-002-0010. The commissioners of the ORC are actively involved in all rulemaking through advisory committees and working groups, as well as in the final approval of all new and/or modified rules.
Yes. Samantha, what I'm doing, I don't know if you can see it, but we kind of look at each other and then come up with the responses.
Yes, I see that. Thank you. Okay. Number 7, the agencies or programs and activities align with its mission and goals biannually. Statutory responsibility, OAM 20.10.00 and DLCD policy 03-01. The commissioners of the ORC serving on the Budget Advisory Committee will review programs and activities of the agency as part of the review of the biennial ORC budget request. The budget request is approved by the commission.
Yes.
Okay, next we will look at fiscal oversight. The commission reviews all proposed budgets, and this statutory responsibility OAM 20.10.00 and also 25-00.00 and DLCD policy 0301. The commissioners of the ORC serving on the Budget Advisory Committee help develop and draft a proposed budget. All commissioners then review, adjust if necessary, and approve the biennial budget request.
Yes. We're still working on the report because the legislature's meeting in 25, but yes.
Okay,
Give input
great.
on it.
The commission periodically reviews key financial information and audit findings. And again, the statutory responsibility of the Oregon Accounting Manual 20.10.00 and 25.00.00. The commissioners of the ORC serving on the Budget Advisory Committee will periodically review key financial information and any audit findings and will provide a report to all commissioners.
Yes.
Okay, and the commission is appropriately accounting for resources. And again, same OEM policies and the DLCD policy. I'm not going to read it again. Individual groups, recipients of monies must periodically report their expenditures to the ORC.
Yes, they do.
Okay, next section. The agency adheres to accounting rules and other relevant financial controls. The commissioners of the ORC serving on the Budget Advisory Committee will periodically review adherence to accounting rules and assure appropriate financial controls are in place and report to all commissioners.
I believe that's part of our duty. We have not done that yet, but that is one of the duties that we're looking at with the Budget Committee.
Okay. So as of this point, we will mark it no.
Yes. And I know as soon as those come up, we will be reviewing them and giving input.
Right. Put a note here. Okay, so next section is about board management. So commission members act in accordance with their roles as public representatives. So statutory rule responsibility ORS 244.040. The commissioners of the ORC use effective meeting practices, including having approved agendas, advisory committees, other agenda items, and public comment time.
Yes, the agenda is approved ahead of time every month.
The commission coordinates with others where responsibilities and interests overlap, ORS Chapter 195, and the ORC coordinates with all of its stakeholders. When there are similar issues, the ORC also coordinates with other agencies such as Oregon Lottery.
Yes.
The commission assures proper training of agency staff to carry out its programs and activities. Employees of the ORC are kept current on all appropriate training opportunities and are encouraged to attend.
Yes, they are. They're over there nodding. Yes, they are.
Okay, the commission reviews its management practices to ensure best practices are utilized. The commissioners of the ORC will review and report on best practices, key performance measure on an annual basis.
Yes.
Okay, so last is other. Is there any additional best practices that need to be identified during this time?
Okay. Are there any? Okay. I think, Samantha, what I've been impressed with in the last, because none of us have really been on the commission very long, is the communications and the idea of running things past us, having committee meetings, making sure that you've got materials ahead of time. And I think that's very important.
Okay. I believe that is the end of my part. Is that correct, Connie?
That's the end of your part. However, I would like to go ahead and skip to item number 16, if that's okay, because that is part of what we were talking about. Unfortunately, I see a piece of the packet is missing from your end, so I will talk through it. You will see that there's a survey in there. The survey, we did something very different this time. The last few years, we've been averaging between 2 and 5 respondents to our survey. I think one year we got 12. This year we got 61. We had to really work hard to send out to a number of different ways to get it. And what we found is we find more things to work on when we really get people to respond to it. One area that did stand out to us is to continue to work on communication with our horsemen and women, and make sure that they know exactly how to communicate with us. One of the things I'm looking at possibly exploring is adding, I forgot what the service is called, I think it's called Rosie. It's a call-in service where you have one number and they redirect you to everyone. And we have also made some changes on posting our hours, like our hours for the licensing office is still available. We've also realized that a mistake we've made in the past is not showing when people are seasonal on our webpage. So from now on, we're going to make sure it says this individual is out of the office for the next 6 months because they're seasonal. So we do have lessons that we learned from this survey, and I am really thankful for all the people that did participate in it because it does help. We did have some areas that were quite good, especially from the ADWs. They had huge praises of us. Again, you know, it's always a balancing act. We want to find opportunities, and there's always challenges as well. But we can't fix something if we don't know about it. So it is really important that our industries continue to contact and communicate with us. We may not always agree with you, but we won't know about it if you don't tell us. One of the disappointing things about this is if you look at the categories, we had 12 ADWs reply to our survey, 7 trainers, 16 owners, 8 track staff, 0 jockeys, even though I did a second special one just to the jockeys. 7 Oregon Racing Commission staff, which we took with a grain of salt, those 7 because they're internal. 2 commissioners and 17 others. I think some of the negative communication came from the others, and also I believe it was the owners, I think, are the areas we need to work on the most. So we'll be continuing to work on those. And then the KPMs is a part that is not in your packet, and I apologize. I will be emailing you a copy of that before we post it. This is actually part of our final Key Performance Measure Act, this evaluation that you're going through, as is the directors. The customer service that I just went over is part of that as well. The fatalities for horses is also one. We are in the red for the fatality of the horses. It was a bad year last year for a number of reasons. Some we know, some we don't know, and we need to continue to work on that, and that needs to be front and center. I think that's the biggest area of weakness that we have right now, and to make sure that we're doing everything possible. There's always going to be things that come up. It's not perfect, but it does need to be front and center to make sure that we're continuing to work on it. The other key performance measures in there are, there's one area in there that kind of goes through all the areas that are in your forms. That was slightly down in some areas and slightly up in some areas, and I consider that to be because of the fact that we went to such a broad ratio. But my goal is to try to increase all of those so everybody is more content next year, and that they feel like they can be honest with us and provide the feedback that they need to both my staff, me, and to you as individuals. You know, that all of them know that after this meeting, they are welcome to come up and talk to you and share their concerns. Hopefully they've talked to us. Sometimes we can help them, sometimes we can't, but this needs to be a really open commission, I think.
And that's one of our goals.
So I think that's all I need to say for Samantha. Samantha, anything else?
No, that's all on my side. So thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Any input? The next thing we have is the discussion of possible approval of customer service policy.
Thank you, Chair. This came out as two-part. I had started to work on this after I saw the survey to make sure that we have more things in place and that we have a culture of customer service. I've always felt our customer service is good, but it can always improve. And again, I have found some areas where we definitely need to make some improvements. So I want my entire team on the same page on this. Customer service is everything. And then right about the time I started this, the governor's office said, as a mandate, because it's also a very important concept to her, everybody needs to have a policy by the end of the year. Now we're way ahead of that at this point. The team has gone over this. We've all agreed that we will abide by these rules, and if you want anything changed, we're glad to do this. But this sets out some specific expectations on returning calls, just general customer service. We want to be known for excellent customer service, and that's what I'm hoping our survey reflects next year.
Okay, is there any input from the commission as to whether they additions, changes, anything? I thought it was pretty complete, and you did go through and deal with, hopefully, all of the different areas that we want to deal with customer service, because it's like every organization, customer service is number one. With this, do we need to move on this, or just, this is just for our
We should
information?
move on, yeah. As a commission, I would like your consideration for approval of this policy.
So is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the customer service policy
As presented?
as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler seconds. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, the motion passes. Okay, the second thing we have, actually almost the second to last, is in our packets, we have a new policy, a communication policy for press releases. And I think part of the reason for this is there have been some questions as to whether we need to put out press releases as to things that have happened at the races and so on. And so what the director did was to go through and put together a policy that would deal with Oregon Racing Commission press releases. And I think part of it is I think that the important thing is the purpose of this policy is to establish guidelines for the ORC regarding the issuance of press releases. The ORC does not have a communication staff, so has limited capacity for engaging the media. And the press release policy aims to limit press releases to exceptional circumstances, ensuring that any public communication is carefully considered. And so that's pretty much what, in a nutshell. Is there discussion, questions? Okay, how about Mr. Bexton and Mr. Harold?
Thank you, Chair. So I, right out of the gate, in my role as commissioner, I felt like like it was important that there is openness and transparency in our communication with the public whenever there are incidents, especially incidents of catastrophic breakdowns and things like that, just so that it appears to the public that we are being completely open and not attempting in any way to hide or fail to disclose incidents involving equine or human safety. And so, for example, last year when there were horses that died on the track down here in Grants Pass, my concern was that it didn't seem like we were out in front of that and communicating with the public. So my thought is just, to me, it doesn't matter so much what form this communication takes, whether it's a press release or what, but I do think that just as a matter of course, at the conclusion of an event, that we make sure that if there were incidents of breakdowns and so forth, or injuries to jockeys, that we make sure that we let the public know. So as an alternative to a press release, perhaps we have a spot on the website of the commission where we just communicate no injuries, no incidents involving equine or human safety or welfare, or horse injured, jockey injured, these are the circumstances, and so forth. So again, for me, it's just a matter of making sure that we are being completely open and communicating with members of the public about how the safety and welfare issues are being addressed.
Yeah, and that's, so I guess I feel like we have quite a bit of apparatus in place already through Director Wynn and the commission to make discretionary decisions about this. The commission is appointed by the governor. The director serves at our pleasure, and the governor is accountable to people. Why are there concerns about transparency? I feel like we've been very transparent. Yes. Are there concerns about our transparency?
My concern began with the deaths of the 5 horses in October. I felt like we should have, first of all, I as a commissioner, I didn't find out until the next week that this had happened, and that concerned me. But then, sort of more broadly, my concern was that it didn't seem to me that there was any effort to communicate what had happened to the public, and I think that's something that is a matter of intense public interest. So I felt like it should have been communicated as soon as possible to members of the public what had happened.
Thank you. I support the policy as it is on this paper, and think exceptional circumstances may call for a press release, but I don't want, without someone on staff to be our publicity person, I don't want there to be a situation where the only time we're issuing press releases is if something bad happens. While that may be transparent, that bad things may happen in this industry, I just do not think that that helps the longevity of the industry. And while I do believe we should be totally transparent, we just don't have the manpower to be transparent about every single positive thing as well as every negative thing that happens at every race. And I think without it being rounded, that gives the public a poor impression overall.
The one thing I was impressed with the policy, and is a policy that we've gotten, is that it goes through and it's pretty specific as to kind of the who, what, where, when, and why. And the general policy goes through and it says that the ORC generally refrains from issuing press releases. And I think part of that is if you're involved in any organization that does this, you have a professional that does that, and we don't have the person power to. But I think that the important thing is they go through and they define the policy statement, what an exceptional circumstances is, what the approval process is, and that any proposed press release must be drafted by the ORC executive director or a designated staff member, and so it goes through and has a process. The content of the press releases, it goes through the review of the updates, responsibility, compliance. All of these things are in the policy, so from a policy standpoint, it is well written. It's not vague that people don't have direction when something is to come out from the ORC. And part of it is a lot of times the regular press doesn't really care, even though we do put something out. But I think the important thing is that it will be distributed through the ORC's official website, the social media channels, and directly to accredited media. So it pretty much covers all the bases. So at least my opinion from a policy standpoint is fairly well written and understandable and doable. So, do we want further more discussion on this over time? Or discussion now? Questions?
This still leaves discretion about these releases to the director, chair of the commission. I'll make a motion to approve this policy as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler. Is there any discussion?
I would just, the only thing I would say is, I certainly agree with the concept of not, issuing press releases except in extraordinary circumstances. My thought is, again, that if we had a way of communicating at the close of a race meet, or even the racing season, to the public in a way that is instantly available to members of the public, probably like on the commission's website, just so that they know, it was no incidents, or we had an incident where this happened and this was what the knee proxy showed or whatever. Just again, in the interest of making sure that the public is able to see, find that information, be informed, and so that it doesn't look like we are, in any way trying to obfuscate what happens out on the tracks.
Because according to the policy, approved press releases, approved, it will go on social media and on the website, and so that's something that's done. But to be honest with you, I don't know of an organization that doesn't have a system to approve press releases before they go out. Anyway, so any more discussion? Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. 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 Okay, it's unanimous. Motion passes. Okay. Next thing we have on the agenda is Commissioner Berry. Review and possible approval to begin the rulemaking process for 462-160-0120 sub 4778.
So we discussed this today during the medication safety meetings. We're going to kick the can down the road until next month, and we will hopefully have a new commissioner on board who will have some input on this. And we also want more specific feedback on the specific devices that we'll be looking at.
Okay, so we'll wait till the next meeting after we get some more. Yes. The last thing we have on the new business is overview of the ADW audit and template. Our Director of Mutuals.
Thank you, Chair Doherty. I have a 2-hour presentation. I'm Michael Lloyd. I am the agency's Director of Mutuals. I oversee online wagering licenses, officially known as multi-jurisdictional simulcasting hubs, also known as advanced deposit wagering hubs, or ADWs, but bottom line, they're online wagering licenses. I've been in this role for about 2 years. Previously, I ran ADWs, many of which were licensed by the Oregon Racing Commission. We are required by statute and rule to audit these licenses at least yearly. The auditing process is a fluid process. It's ever changing and evolving. Technology improves, processes change, laws are written, there are changes in best practices, etc. In the back of your packet is a sample of my auditing template. Of particular note, I'd like to bring to your attention the table of contents. It kind of shows how detailed these audit reports can get. At the beginning of each year, I review this template and I make changes or updates as warranted. As I mentioned before, technologies or processes or best practices. I reach out to each ADW a couple of months in advance of when I would like to audit, and I confirm the schedule. If applicable, I submit a travel request for my director for approval. It's important to note that any out-of-state travel is reimbursed from the licensees. They pay for any out-of-state audits. We travel per Oregon travel guidelines. Once we secure a schedule, I share an outline with each licensee and discuss what this year's audited components are going to be. They're generally broken down into 4 different categories: finance, IT, information technology, legal or compliance, and operations. I drill down 3 pages of my letter to them, drills down all the different aspects of what I'll be looking for within my audit. They are generally policies and procedures, risk management and operations, anti-money laundering, customer accounts, financials, legal, training, IT, third-party and internal audits, governance, and at the end there's generally several appendices where I detail all the different components that I've reviewed within their systems. I will ask for updates to their plan of operations, a list of all their officers and licensed licensed staff with the ORC. I will detail any new requests I have. For example, this year I am including a desire to look at any any accounts that have been created where the address of record is different than the mailing address. If someone is wagering in a state that they're not permitted by that state's laws to be taking wagers from. In advance of the detail audit, I will review any submitted documentations, including the plan of operations, their staff list. I often get several of my staff involved. The chief investigator is helpful in reviewing the licensees. The direct part of my audit, the in-person part, generally takes between 2 to 4 days. I break down each department and the reports and items I'd like to review. I meet with the staff and gather information about their roles, what data they have access to, their individual understanding of policies and procedures, any training they've had, including the initial training and reoccurring training, with a specific focus on their responsible wagering training. Then I drill down in each department into what the table of contents kind of outlines. And I'll note also within the table of contents and that sample I put in there, you can see I reference the administrative rule on why I'm asking and reviewing and auditing each of those specific parts. Back at my office, I then deep dive into each ADW and affiliates online offering from the customer's point of view. I look to see what affiliates are properly noting, that they're properly noting the prime licensees, that the table of contents are up to date, fundings that are being offered are those that have been approved by the ORC. Tracks that are being offered, they have got proper source market fee agreements. I compare it against their approved plan of operations. I look at the responsible wagering, the jurisdictions, etc. I put their site through the paces. I try to sign up from different jurisdictions where it's not allowed, addresses where I'm not permitted to be coming from. I use a few of my deceased relatives' credentials to make sure that poor grandma can't still wager. She lives on. One very significant component that we are not able to currently test directly is funding and wagering. If I've created a test account legitimately, because I am an Oregon resident, I cannot, by statute, put money in that account, into that account and test it and see how the wagering works. When I'm completed with my report, it's generally between 60 to 80 pages long and broken down into significant amount of sections. I've already listed them. Each contains who I talked to and any documentation reviewed that pertains to that subject and my findings. My report includes notes on compliance and any areas where I recommend improvements or updates. Not every audit is a pass. Some new deployments, some customer service offices they want to open do not pass first inspection and require subsequent audits prior to approval. My report is saved to file and shared with the licensees and the executive director. Start to end, each ADW audit takes roughly 2 months. There are some overlaps between licenses, but the organization of the data keeps things well in order. That is a general overview of what my bread and butter is. I could speak literally for a couple hours on this, but I will open up any questions you may have if you want me to drill down further on certain areas.
Do we have any questions?
That was a helpful general overview. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I say, because on here we've got date question mark, and so is this something, do you have a, I would assume that the audit's not done, and that you've got a template and everything for it?
For which audit? I audit every ADW every year.
Oh, okay.
I have completed, well, I just literally finished one of them earlier this week. 2 weeks from now, I travel to New York to audit one of the licensees there. I will come back and audit one of the other licensees this year remotely. They're one of the smaller groups. 2 weeks after that, I'm off to Kentucky to audit one of the larger groups, and that will be literally a 4-day trip. Oh, yes, well, yes, that will be with Churchill Downs, the one in Kentucky. That takes a bit more time. They have a very large subsection, a lot of customers.
Great, thank you. Very informative.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Okay, the next thing, second to last thing we have on the agenda is any public comment. Do we have any people who want to have any public comment? Raise your hand. I see no hands. Anybody online? Anybody online? Thank you. Yeah, anybody online? Okay, with that, the next thing is the confirmation of the next commission meeting, and we may not have a commission meeting in October. Looking at some things that we've done, we may not have a commission meeting in October, but we will give people plenty of, time to know whether the meeting's been canceled. Okay. We will not have a meeting of Zoom in October. You can take that off your calendars.
I would like to add to that, the chair, that our November meeting, we may not have a December meeting, so the November meeting will also include elections for chair and committees for the following 2 years. And our new commissioner will be there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
Do we need to announce date of
Thank
that
you.
meeting?
With that, what?
It'll be November 21st.
Okay, November 21st. I would have problems with it. You notice that we had chair for quite a long time. And the October meeting, that was going to be in Spain, so that's one. So I'm glad we're not having it. And then in November 21st,